Roughly 2 minutes. Stand by. I'm seeing some voltage irregularities on the instrument, so keep an eye out for sparks or flames or anything like that.
You did test this thing, right?
This is the test. Closing porthole shielding.
Where's the reason for this quiet rapture?
Iron Lung. Well, I got to theaters this week. Apologies in advance now if my upload schedule gets a little wonky from here on out. I literally just started a new job, so I'm trying to navigate my new workload on top of doing these videos, because these videos are a lot of work. Even if only a few dozen of you guys see them, there's still a lot of work, so I'm gonna try to keep them regular. But anyway, in the meantime, I did get out and went to see the new MARKIPLIER movie, and also now the second movie based on a video game out this year, Iron Lung. Full disclosure, I have not played the game it is based on, but I have seen a couple of Markiplier's playthroughs of it. He has so many. Also, that's right, if for some reason you didn't know, this movie is the Markiplier movie, and if you don't know who Markiplier is, take a course on internet culture, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. Markiplier is one of the most famous and well-liked streaming personalities out there. He's been around for years, doing countless games, both large and independent, and has somewhat dabbled in acting before with various projects and setups like the Who Killed Markiplier miniseries and the Unus Annus project. But this film in particular is his directorial debut, and he's also now a SAG-AFTRA member. He wrote, directed, and starred in this almost entirely one-man movie in a labor of love. So much so that he even self-produced and distributed it to theaters. This means that when you see it in a theater, there are no previews, no production company credits, and no waiting. When the film starts, it starts. You're just in it. So already, this movie is an indie darling. It is a low-budget passion project fueled only by Mark's desire to get this movie made and his love of the game it is based on. Honestly, this does kind of make it one of a kind, which is mostly due to Mark's fan base being so big, though, so I don't know if that really counts. It probably still does. His original deal to get this into movie theaters was only for 60 independent theaters to show the film, but he called on his fans to ask for more theaters to show, and that started a grassroots campaign through the word of mouth, and it ended up spreading the film even further and being extremely successful, with major cinema chains taking the film in and opening it up in thousands of theaters instead of 60. So, geez. This even led the film to winning the box office on its release. It had a budget of only $3 million, and in the first week alone, it made over 12 times its original budget. So, oh my god. That's a crazy success. Of course, though, even with that success, that doesn't necessarily mean that the movie is any good. Critics were admittedly a bit meh, with the film getting a less than favorable review to start, and while fan support was always going to be through the roof because of Markiplier, it was also a little lower than expected. Does that make the film bad? Well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. What is this movie even about? I guess I should start with the game. Iron Lung, the game, released in 2022 and is an indie game with very little plot and is meant to be played all at once. It is about a convict in a shoddy submarine diving into a strange blood ocean to search for resources, but discovers something even more terrifying. It includes some needed information about the history of the game world, mainly being that this particular reality is set in the distant future when humanity has colonized space. At some point, there's a mysterious event called the Quiet Rapture, which was a sudden and mysterious disappearance of every star and habitable planet known to humans. While trying to survive, people discovered moons with strange oceans and lakes of blood, and out of desperation, they decide to send people down into them to search for resources for survival, or maybe even a reason why the Quiet Rapture happened. The entire experience of the game is meant to be a quick, intense burst of horror and only last about an hour or so. The movie is just over 2 hours long, so you could play the game twice during the entire run of the movie. It features more information and lore of this world and universe, but also, for some reason, not enough? Weird dichotomy there. The only bits of exposition we get are at the very start, detailing the events of the Quiet Rapture and that the main character, a convict named Simon, is being sent down to look for something, anything, that can help humanity survive. Nobody seems to know what he's looking for. He's just going down there to look. And that is literally all we get. There's nothing about humanity before the Quiet Rapture, or who most of the people that we interact with are. Simon is interesting for the most part and clearly has some sort of rich backstory involving something called Eden, which I'm assuming is a space station. Pretty sure it's in the game as well. And then another station named Filament Station, but I don't know what that is. All we get from the film is that Filament Station is not around anymore, and Simon is believed to be the reason why, hence why he's a convict. There's also things where he's trying to take a deal with the people who are sending him down. I don't really understand that, but okay. There are hints to Simon's true backstory, but it's never fully confirmed. There are just short flashes and quick bits that kind of hint at what happened. He does speak about it a little bit too, but it is never fully explored or explained, so don't be expecting that at all. I think you're meant to piece it together yourself, but okay, sure. Anyway, Simon here is sent down into one particular ocean of blood with no idea what he's looking for. When he discovers what appears to be a large skeleton of a strange creature, then shit starts to hit the fan. Of course, other stuff happens, but that is the main gist of the movie. And overall, it's good, not great. The film suffers from several issues, and I think the biggest one is just the lack of exposition. Watching the film, it felt like there was a lot of information that it just sort of expected me to know prior to seeing the movie, even though I don't think any of that information exists even in the game. I wanted to know what this Quiet Rapture was. I wanted to know what this blood ocean was. I wanted to know how humanity even noticed the Quiet Rapture, or how they were surviving until the start of the movie, and how this world works before we even get into the ocean. Instead, we get a quick narration stinger about the Quiet Rapture itself, and then we're off to the races. I feel like maybe a quick scene or two at the very start that shows humanity prospering, and then maybe the Quiet Rapture, and then how they find the blood ocean and their overall reactions to everything would have been really beneficial. There were so many moments in this movie where I just felt completely lost. I'm like, okay, why are we doing this? What is this? What are you guys even talking about? The characters know things that the audience doesn't, and it just felt weird. Now, I understand not revealing Simon's backstory right away. The movie kind of hints that he has a richer backstory at the very start, and slowly starts to somewhat expand it, where he starts talking about his brother or something, but otherwise it only gives us extremely quick glimpses into his past as the film goes on, and none of it is explained. You just get little hints and that's it. I personally think that this movie needed a full scene describing what Simon did and what his connection to this place called Filament Station is, because people keep bringing it up and it's very clearly important to his character, but no idea. Alas, what we get is what we get, and that's all. It just makes it kind of feel like it's trying to be a bit artsy, which isn't a bad thing. The movie overall is artsy in general. It's slow and methodical, and mostly done to have Simon as the straight man and the audience proxy. He doesn't know anything, just like us watching don't know anything. So a lot of the movie is dedicated to watching Simon figure out how the submarine works because nobody tells him, and navigating around it while listening to whoever or whatever is talking to him through a speaker in the submarine, and then also freaking out as things start to go bad, as they are inevitably going to. This is Ocean Gate in space. So, come on. Honestly, it sounds pretty dull that a lot of this movie is just going to be watching this guy fumbling about, trying to figure out how controls work, and then complaining that nobody told him how anything works, which is a very legitimate complaint, but I can see why a lot of critics gave the film bad scores, because they felt the film was too slow and tedious in that regard, and probably should have been a short instead of a bloated 2+ hour movie. Because yeah, this is a long film. Although I kind of disagree with that sentiment. The film is certainly slow. It's a very slow pace, but I wouldn't call it dull or boring. It's certainly tedious, but it has a purpose. However, I also think that the movie very much could have used some of those 2 hours to contribute to some decent backstory instead of just watching Simon try to figure things out and navigate. But hey, maybe that just wasn't in the budget. Pretty much the budget is just this submarine and some makeup effects, but hey, it looks good. I will say, this movie looks amazing for the budget given to it. For it essentially being a bottle film taking place almost entirely within this tiny, janky submersible. So they have to do a lot to make it look believable and help us as the audience believe that it's actually going down in a blood ocean, even though there's no windows or anything. But hey, it's something. We do have a good time seeing the cockpit, the back computer, the camera, and the crawl space down below everything. And it is engaging to watch Simon struggle to navigate and survive, along with how he talks to himself, the creatures outside, and the voices over his radio. I feel like it's engaging enough that it never feels dull, it's just lengthy. Really could have chopped this down by like 20 minutes. But hey, that's what happens. Otherwise, the movie does look really damn good, even though we're just in one room. The blood ocean is practical in a lot of scenes, and I think this movie takes the record for the most amount of fake blood used in a film, coming in at around 80,000 gallons of the stuff. Oh my god. Markiplier is absolutely covered in it by the end of the film, and I believe he actually had to go to the hospital because he had too much in his eyes. The makeup design on him too, and the other people outside of the sub when you do see them, also looks really good for the budget. Some top-notch work there, no notes, love all of that. I guess I need to talk about the acting at this point, huh? Well, let me get the cast list. So, well, would you look at that? Despite some cameos over the voiceover by people like Troy Baker, Jacksepticeye, Valkyrie, and Elsie Lovelock, the only other person with a notable on-screen appearance besides Mark is Caroline Rose Kaplan as the commanding officer Ava that is sending him down there. And she's fine when we see her. She just doesn't get much to do on screen besides talking to Simon through a porthole, but I guess she's meant to be kind of separated there. I think she's a lot better when she transitions to being over the radio and really puts in a strong emotional voice performance as the film gets going. I kind of wish we got to see more of her backstory. That could have helped as well, but what we do get with her is strong enough. And second and lastly, we have Simon, played by Markiplier himself, Mark Fishbach. And I gotta say, I admittedly was a little worried when I learned that he'd be essentially running the entire movie on his back. He is the central character in basically a one-man show. He has to be able to perform and keep the audience engaged in the character, not just because he's Markiplier. He's just so famous. And thankfully, he definitely has the acting chops. I wasn't expecting that. Again, I had seen him perform previously in smaller roles in online videos that were mostly comedic, so I feel like my hesitation was justified overall. But hey, he did a great job keeping my attention and portraying Simon's emotions from fear to hopelessness to determination and anger and everything in between. He goes surprisingly in depth. Get it? Depth like a submarine? As far as films go, Iron Lung is definitely far from being the worst. As far as video game adaptation films go, it's honestly one of the best. I'm not going to say it's a fantastic film by any means. It definitely has its fair share of issues, but it also has a lot of heart and a lot of parts that work incredibly well. The biggest issue is the lack of useful exposition. There is just not nearly enough backstory to fully latch onto anywhere. That resulted in me getting lost several times as the movie went on. I should never be asking myself, wait, what is this? Why are we doing this? Why did this happen? Why are we focusing on that? And then never getting an answer later on. It's one thing if the characters are also asking that question, but if the audiences and the characters know, there's a problem. There's too much of a disconnect. A good example of that in this film is Simon finding a strange amulet at some point that clearly has some sort of personal meaning for him, but that meaning isn't ever fully described. We get an idea of its importance, but it's never fully revealed. You're just kind of meant to piece it together on your own. And I'm still confused as to what actually happened to Filament Station. If the movie is throwing around names and ideas like the Quiet Rapture, Eden, COI, or Filament Station, it needs to explain or show what these things are, unless the characters don't know either. Otherwise, you're just leaving the audience hanging with a huge disconnect. All these characters moving around with pieces that we as the audience don't. It's so annoying. Overall though, this movie is good, not great. It's got some great ideas, a fantastic performance, and a really cool look and vibe for itself. It just lacks mostly in exposition and pacing, with a lot of tedious moments of Simon navigating or figuring out how the sub works, with nothing else really happening at the moment. Again, that's not bad, but it is slow and lengthy when that time could have been used to better flesh out this world. As always though, it is amazing that this movie got made in general, and is a testament to independent filmmaking, producing, and distribution. Thankfully, I can safely recommend this movie and tell you all to go check it out if you're even the least bit curious. It is well worth it, even though it does leave a lot to be desired. But hey, judging the film on its own merits and budget, it's a pretty solid ride regardless. Bloody and tense and a great example of a modern cosmic horror movie, so go see it in theaters if you can. Support independent creators. So ultimately, Iron Lung gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. How many video game adaptation movies are we getting this year? Geez, we had Return to Silent Hill, we have this one, we have The Mortuary Assistant, we have Mortal Kombat, we have Street Fighter. What else are we getting? I'm sure we're getting more. And it's such a toss-up as to what's going to be good and what's going to be trash. The independent ones at least try to take some heart into it. They feel a lot more real than, I don't want to say AAA titles. I mean, Silent Hill didn't feel like a AAA title, and it was essentially a B movie. But I don't know, something about these independent creators, they really got it. It makes me hopeful for a mouthwashing movie, which, hey, if anyone is looking to do that, I have a script ready to go. It's really good. I wrote it. It is 96 pages. Anyway, what did you guys think about this? Did you see it just for Markiplier? Did you see it because you're a fan of the game? I know the game's only an hour long. Did you see it because you thought the idea was interesting? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. After that, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. And yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost soul alone, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.